Some people don't hate going out. They just feel more like themselves when they're alone. You've probably seen it before. The friend who says, maybe, to every plan knowing they're probably not coming. The person who gets invited out and immediately starts hoping it gets canceled. And weirdly enough, a lot of people secretly relate to them. Because after a certain point, home stops feeling boring and starts feeling safe. No pressure, no pretending, no exhausting small talk, just your own space, your own thoughts, your own energy. That's the psychology of people who love staying at home. Psychologist Elaine Aron believed that some people naturally process stimulation more deeply than others, which means some people don't avoid crowds because they hate people. They avoid crowds because too much social interaction drains them mentally. For them, home isn't isolation, it's peace. And honestly, in a world that constantly demands your attention, peace becomes addictive. Researchers describe something called a social hangover, the mental exhaustion people feel after too much social interaction. You know that feeling when you come home after a long day around people, and suddenly you don't want to answer texts, talk, or even hear noise? So while one person enjoys crowded places, another person leaves feeling mentally exhausted for hours. There's actually a fascinating experiment connected to this. In 1997, researchers led by psychologist Randy Garner studied something called the coffee shop effect. They found that many people performed creative tasks better when they worked alone in calm environments with only moderate background noise, not crowded social interaction. Too much stimulation reduced focus. Too many conversations drained mental energy, which explains why some people do their best thinking late at night, alone in their room, with soft music playing in the background. Because for certain minds, solitude doesn't block creativity, it unlocks it. That's why some people romanticize the smallest things: rain against the window, late night silence, a comfort show playing softly in the background, drinking tea while doing absolutely nothing. Because staying home isn't always about escaping life. Sometimes it's finally slowing down enough to feel it. But here's where it gets deeper. A lot of people who love staying home learn that solitude feels safer than disappointment. Maybe they were emotionally drained by people. Maybe they got tired of fake friendships. Maybe life became so overwhelming that home slowly turned into emotional protection. So now peace feels more attractive than attention. Author Brené Brown once said, "Staying vulnerable is a risk we have to take if we want to experience connection." And for people who love staying home, solitude is the only place where they don't feel watched. But this doesn't mean staying home is always healthy. There's a difference between solitude and isolation. Healthy solitude recharges you. Unhealthy isolation disconnects you from life. One gives you clarity, the other slowly traps you in avoidance. But here's the payoff nobody talks about. People who enjoy their own company often develop something rare in today's world: self-awareness. Because when you spend time alone, you start hearing your real thoughts instead of the world's noise. You learn what actually makes you happy, what drains you, what matters to you beyond trends, validation, or attention. And maybe that's why some of the most thoughtful, creative, emotionally deep people are the ones who spend the most time alone. Carl Jung once said, "Loneliness does not come from having no people around, but from being unable to communicate the things important to you." So maybe people who love staying at home aren't antisocial. Maybe they're just tired of performing. Maybe home is the one place where they don't have to impress anyone. And maybe real peace isn't always found outside in loud places. Maybe sometimes it's found in quiet rooms, soft music, dim lights, and finally feeling comfortable with your own mind.